Hey, beauty should be good for you, and Beauty Counter is a brand powered by people whose mission is to get safer products into the hands of everyone. If you're looking for clean, high-performing products for yourself and your family, please go to my website and connect with me to give you some unparalleled standards of beauty. Check out my website, Beauty Counter /Justine Bezzetta. That's Beauty Counter /JUSTINE BUZZETTA. I look forward to us connecting.
This Functionised Podcast. We've got sponsors, people. Parkbench.com. Locals can find events, write reviews, get details, read news, search real estate. Thank you, Heba Shaban. Check me out on Parkbench.com, where I am interviewed by Heba Shaban, and in a week or two, when she's done with the interview, check out Beauty Brains Broad herself, Shantae Goetz, who will also be featured on Parkbench.com. Colts Neck General Store. To all of you in Australia, come on over to New Jersey, check it out. For all of you who are not in Australia, come on over to the Colts Neck General Store, enjoy breakfast, coffee, every single Sunday morning. We get there around 9-ish. After a wonderful run, it's a wonderful home country store and deli. Wonderful food, wonderful people. Come check it out, Colts Neck General Store. Shore Dental Sleep Care. Gotta ask, is snoring so bad your spouse can't sleep? Have you awakened from sleep gasping for breath more than once? Do you often wake up feeling as if you barely slept at all? Having to actually pull over while driving to take a nap? Do you fight to stay awake at work, especially if it's quiet? Do you need 2 or more cups of coffee or caffeinated beverages every single day? Have you been told that you stop breathing while you sleep or not have as much energy as you used to? Researchers have studied sleep apnea and snoring. Know that oxygen deprivations can trigger health problems such as chronic sleeplessness, drowsiness, fatigue, headaches, heart attacks, high blood pressure, stroke, chronic fatigue, trouble concentrating, reduced memory, and depression. Also, lack of sleep has been linked to diabetes, early onset Alzheimer's, lowered metabolism, testosterone reduction, sudden cardiac death, and even cancer. Don't sleep, you die. Check out Shore Dental Sleep Care, the sleep apnea specialists. Go to www.shoredentalsleepcare.com. Again, that's www.shoredentalsleepcare.com. I've also got some very special and exciting announcements at Functionized Integrative Therapeutics. How about IV therapy? Wellness from the inside out. You get IV vitamin infusions, IV vitamin boosters, NAD plus therapy. I can't say enough. Shantae and I have undergone IV therapy treatment and actually have it set up again this week to get some IV therapy. Get your vitamins, minerals, aminos, your glutathione push, NAD plus, everything that your body needs right in your bloodstream right then and there. It feels amazing. It is amazing. Don't be left out. Don't be left popping your pills day in and day out and have nothing else to back it up. You want to recover quicker? You want to feel better? You want to sleep better? You want to be a better version of yourself? Get your vitamins IV style. Which brings us to Functionized Integrative Therapeutics. Let me tell you all about the Fit Lab. The lab was designed to bring total health and fitness to individuals in the most efficient and effective manner. At Functionized, they blend cutting-edge science and technology and put it into practical application. Conventional wisdom says you need to spend hours each week exercising to see results, and you know what? Science says otherwise. Developed with decades of experience, Functionized provides the formula to ensure you achieve your health and fitness goals in just minutes each week. When you exercise in the Fit Lab, you establish yourself as one of the smart people who recognize you can get in great shape with minimal time investment. You understand that being efficient with your time is not laziness or a shortcut. It's a requirement to produce the results you desire. He recognized that time efficiency is purchased with an absolute extreme effort and intensity. In the Fit Lab, you are a member of a rarefied group that recognizes the wisdom of health and fitness. Your success is visible and you feel it too. Build strength, endurance, improve your fitness, have more energy and lose fat. We recognize time is valuable, efficiency is key, and quantify your results each and every week. Check out www.functionised.com. Check out the Facebook, check out the Instagram at Functionized. Wake up today, go to sleep tonight, and be a better version of yourself than when you first woke up. Each and every day, strive to be a better version of yourself. Live functionized. So the other night at Healthy Happy Hour at Functionized Integrative Therapeutics, Beauty Brains Brawn herself, Shantae, and I discussed the biggest nutrition myths that persist. Now, if you're not familiar with Healthy Happy Hour, you should be. If you are in Australia, if you are in Europe, Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Healthy Happy Hour is the place to be. And I say that because so many people are here, and I appreciate that greatly. Yes, I have seen that we have followers in 6 of 7 continents. And for those that are in Antarctica, come on. Before you leave as a scientist for Antarctica, bring our podcast with you. There's some really cool experiments I would love to do with you, such as the fact that you don't need to sweat to lose fat. Amazing, because it's freaking freezing in Antarctica. Just saying. Hey, maybe it's not, or maybe it is. I have not been there, so I cannot say. But on the Functionized Facebook page, we have a private group of Healthy Happy Hour. In that, we put very delicious recipes that are meant for health and meant for reasons, and for those that have actually had their lab work done to know what they can and cannot eat. And we work together in order to find recipes that we can eat based on our lab work. We motivate each other. We help remove those blockages that are keeping us from succeeding. Anything and everything that makes us better people, we do. And Shantae is absolutely amazing in utilizing her peak performance skills. It is a fun time to be at. So if you're local, come join us, Healthy Happy Hour. If you're not, sign up for the private group. It's amazing. I can't say enough about it. I love being there every single Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And this last Tuesday night, we discussed the biggest nutrition myths that actually continue to persist. I've heard these myths over and over and over again, and even on Tuesday, I had people getting so outraged and frustrated because these are the same principles and topics they've been following their entire life and have yet to achieve their goals. Now let me ask you, if you're not where you want to be physically or mentally, then why are you so adamant in the paradigm that you're at right now in following the same thing, the same routine that doesn't work? It doesn't work. So if it doesn't work, why keep doing it? I got to tell you that the right routine is, it's more boring. It's boring. The right routine is boring because it works. You don't have to research anything anymore. You don't have to buy crap anymore. You don't have to buy stuff that doesn't work anymore or be sold on things that don't work anymore because you keep getting the results that you want. So why in the world keep going for stuff that doesn't work? Because in breaking a paradigm, any type of paradigm, there's going to be, at first, there's a lot of confusion. There's questioning. There's actually then some violent outrage. There's anger that happens. You get very angry at the world and then yourself. And then if you get past that phase, you end up starting to make change, positive change. But it only happens when it resonates with you and you're ready. So when you are ready, understand that these nutrition myths that persist that I'm about to discuss with you are real. And by understanding the actual science behind them, you can start to live a better life with a better version of you. I keep saying, be a better version of yourself. Live functionized. And living functionized means tonight you go to bed a better version than when you woke up in the morning. And that version of yourself when you woke up in the morning, the next night you're a better version of yourself. You consistently improve on yourself over and over and over again. It doesn't stop because we strive for perfection, but perfection doesn't exist. So we give 100% effort in all that we do, day in and day out, and you will be amazed at who you are, who you become, and you continue to be. And what you are is what you touch the world around you. And by touching the world around you, you're making the world around you a better place. And if you make that influence in each and every one of them, they will multiply. That best version of you will multiply again and again and again and again. Why not strive to be the best version of yourself? Follow your passion. Do what works. As boring as it may be, it works. Yeah, doing the A or X once a week, it's boring. You know, it'd be fun to do a lot more weight stuff, but you know what? What I do works. I've never been stronger in my life. I have less aches and pains than I ever have in my life, less injuries than I've ever had in my life. It works. Caroling 3 times a week, artificial intelligence that I get to use. I have the opportunity. I'm blessed to be able to have the opportunity to utilize it. This morning I went out on a beautiful, freezing, but beautiful morning. And it's been a while since I've run 5 miles. No problem. It was easy. Went with a few individuals and it was beautiful. Loved it. It's science. Boring. Rinse, lather, repeat, do it. It works. Let me digress for a moment. So let's get on these biggest nutrition myths that persist before 2020 happens and everyone's still stuck on this. So one of the myths is protein is bad for your bones and kidneys. So let's tackle this a little bit. It's been stated that more protein in the diet gets linked to more calcium in the urine, right? And your body draws calcium, which is in bones, to buffer the acid lows caused by dietary protein. Protein is acidic, right? So researchers started to suggest that high protein intake causes greater bone loss. And many studies looked into protein intake and calcium excretion, list dairy products as a protein source, so therefore higher urinary calcium could simply be the result of higher calcium intake, i.e. more calcium in, more calcium out. So when individuals looked at only calcium excretion, I gotta say it wasn't enough. Further studies showed that dietary protein actually promotes dietary calcium absorption, and that high protein intake promotes bone growth and retards bone loss, where low protein diet is associated with higher risk of hip fractures. So all the evidence is disproving the idea that the acidic high protein intake depletes the bones, the high calcium sources, and therefore causing osteopenia, osteoporosis. It's actually showing that protein actually has a neutral or even protective effect on bones. So protein, even in large amounts, isn't harmful to your bones or even kidneys unless you're actually suffering from a pre-existing condition. And I say kidneys here because that's one of the myths here. It was determined that high protein diets increased glomerular filtration rate, which is a marker for waste filtration in the kidneys. And it's argued that increased GFR was a sign that stress, undue stress, is put on the kidneys. But more research shows that kidney damage does not occur as a result of diets high in protein. High protein diets don't have a harmful effect on the bones or kidneys. This brings me, before I keep on going here, to what exactly is the evidence? What is evidence-based? I'm talking to an individual the other day, and I'm saying we can't let patients wait more than 10 minutes. Research shows that people get pissed off if a patient waits more than 10 minutes. Yeah, it's an appreciation for one's time. I want my time. The only true value in this universe is time. You've only got so much of it. Eventually, heart failure, we die. It's gone. We have no more time. Who cares about money? Money buys experiences, which is great. It's good. But at the same time, what are those experiences if time has already run out? You won't be able to enjoy those experiences. So if you appreciate my time, I'm going to appreciate your time. And I'm going to appreciate your time, and hopefully you'll appreciate my time. When it comes down to evidence-based, we can do critical analysis, critical appraisals of research studies. Observational studies are squat. A 105-year-old individual eats a piece of pizza a day because, I'm 105, I can eat pizza, I want to do it, it's not going to matter, and they're 105, and they say they have pizza a day, therefore, if you have a piece of pizza a day, you live to 105. These studies are bunk. It's really the double-blind, randomized controlled trials. These are vital. Now you take those and take systematic reviews of all these and compare all them together, and you can really get some evidence. We can say up and down, studies prove this, studies prove that, but you know what? You want to pull a study out your butt and tell me that this proves this and trying to disprove me? Prove it. Seriously, prove it. We can all do that and play that game, but that doesn't show that you've got anything between those two ears, right? Take the research, do a critical analysis. Do the critical analysis, systematic reviews that took the RCTs, double-blind studies. And if there are none, then there's not enough research. So then that's where we can have a little bit more leniency and try to figure it out, and perhaps even do our own research studies and do some case studies in ourselves. But they got to be done properly and can't just be some subjective analysis of, hey, I drank this water and I felt better. There's got to be something quantifiable about that. I hope that makes sense. So, which leads me to carbs are bad for you. Yep, that's a myth. As everybody who's listened to this podcast previously knows, I had been ketogenic for, someone tell me how many years. 2-3 years. I felt that this fuel kept on sourcing my energy. I could go more and more and more, and it took a few weeks to actually get into it. I felt gassed, my production went down, my athletic abilities seemed to go down, I couldn't do as many pull-ups, I couldn't do as many push-ups, I couldn't lift as much. I was a shadow of myself. And then one day it kind of kicked in, and I could go. I've got this fuel, I've got this furnace that just kept going and going and going. And I felt amazing. I gotta say, I did. However, carbs, which were very low at the time, I can say are still pretty low. I only eat between 80 grams of carbish a day, which is considered a low-carb diet. Maybe sometimes 100, maybe 120, depends, but it's all vegetable sources, not a justification, but vegetable sources. And, I feel great. I take them on at the end of the day. And I do this because I like to stay in more of a state of ketosis. I do intermittent fasting. I want to stay in a state of low carb throughout the day, keep the insulin low. Any carbs I'm having are actually low glycemic carbs, so the insulin's going to stay lower, but since the majority is fat and moderate protein, insulin is not actually elevating to any significant level. Insulin is raised, you hold on to fat. Keep the insulin low, and you know what? I'm very blessed to have low amounts of body fat and can perform at very high levels here. A lot of individuals vilify carbs, and I got to tell you, yeah, I'll vilify carbs all day too. What kind of carbs? High glycemic carbs, I got to tell you. That's the type of carb that is going to make you fat, cause diseases. You overindulge in anything, carbs, fat, protein, any of the macronutrients, it's going to have a detrimental effect on the body. It's been proven that a ketogenic diet is not necessarily going to cause weight loss. A high-carb, low-fat diet is not going to cause weight loss. When we're talking about the macronutrients, it's really talking about hormone fluctuations. What are we doing with the hormones here? If you want to cut down on carb intake, processed carbs can be helpful if it helps you eat healthier. But if you're cutting down on carbs actually makes you feel worse and you're not going to stick with it, you got to consider other options. Now, remember, if you ain't testing, you're guessing, and always test for success. So I like to test, and perhaps in a future podcast I'll publish the results of my latest blood work on what IgG levels are spiked in my personal food intake. Everybody's going to have differences in what actually spikes IgG levels. Now we can actually take that, tailor that, tweak that to have as close to a perfect nutrition diet as you can get. And that's what I know I like to do with those that I work with and those that we work with here at Functionised, is tailoring that. But you got to be able to follow it. And it's not difficult, I got to tell you. Heavens forbid, you got like 80 different foods that you can eat. Eat those 80 foods. Don't eat that 80 first. It's really basic. You almost got to say, I want to fail. Once again, I digress. So myth 3, fats are bad for you. Come on, seriously? Fats are bad for you. You know what? You're right. Trans fats are bad for you. The Franken fats are bad for you. The fats that are one molecule away from eating plastic. Yep, those are bad for you. You want to eat plastic? Yep, that is bad for you. Don't eat plastic, people. Don't eat plastic. So a lot of people think that if you eat fat, you gain fat, right? And so for decades, the ideal way to lose fat has been to go on a low-fat diet. Yet, the evidence suggests that given the same caloric deficit and protein intake, low-fat, low-carb diets produce similar weight losses. Yeah, Mr. Keto himself has said it. It's about caloric intake when it comes to weight. The difference in the macronutrients is hormone fluctuation, longevity. What does it do to your genome? So if you stay in a caloric surplus, a low-fat diet is not necessarily going to make you lose weight. You need omega-3s, omega-6s, and saturated fat isn't going to give you a heart attack. Trans fat, that extra fleck on your bond, is going to clog everything up. It's just straight up bad for you. Saturated fat is more stable than unsaturated fats. All in proper balance, all in proper moderation. We do know, though, that saturated fats are not necessarily going to oxidize because, well, that single bond is not going to necessarily switch off to an oxygen already because it's got that carbon-carbon bond. That double bond can branch off to an oxygen, so that's where different conditions, temperature, affects what happens to the unsaturated fat. That's why your fish oils can spoil. You want to make sure that it's properly controlled and consumed within a proper time frame. So, egg yolks being bad for you. I can't believe we're still going over this. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm going to keep this pretty short. Eggs are a great source of protein, fats, and other nutrients. Unless you are on my blood labs. I am not going to be eating eggs or egg products for a while. I do have an IgG response to it. But their association with high cholesterol and cardiovascular disease has been straight up overblown. There is no association between eggs and cardiovascular disease. Except possibly in some people with pre-existing conditions such as diabetes or hyperglycemia. It's also been shown, since our body wants to stay in a state of homeostasis, that dietary cholesterol does not significantly influence whatsoever in any way our own cholesterol levels. You want to damage your blood vessels? Eat sugar, eat trans fats. Surefire way to damage your blood vessels and cause blockage. That's it. Dietary cholesterol, you actually need it to create your steroid hormones, your sex hormones, your testosterone, your estrogen, to rebuild your cell walls. You need it. Myth number 5. I'm going to say red meat is bad for you. So, it's a myth. It is a myth. Fears about red meat causing cancer are actually exaggerated. So, making the right lifestyle choices, don't smoke, be at the right weight for your frame, exercise smart. These are proper for you. These are the ways that your body is designed and needs. When it comes to red meat, you want to get cancer? Blacken it. Put it on that grill, get that black, that nice char. That will cause cancer. It's been proven to cause cancer. Make sure it's cured. Make sure it's smoked. Make sure it's really processed. You'll get cancer. No problem. You want to increase inflammation, which will cause cancer and other diseases. Make sure it's grain-fed and genetically modified grain-fed nonetheless. Get cancer. No problem. It's bad for you. Have end grass-fed beef. Not just grass-fed, because if it's grass-fed, the last 2 weeks before slaughter, they're still going to feed it grains to fatten it up. End grass-fed means it eats grass all the way to the end. Slaughter. You're going to have a far higher amount of omega-3s, even rivals a lot of fish in the amount of omega-3s found in the beef. This is anti-inflammatory. This is still not fully understood, even by a lot of experts and people I respect and I know that are experts in the field still don't fully grasp this. The omega-3 content is higher than some fish when it comes to end grass-fed beef. So if you have a end grass-fed piece of beef, hopefully organically raised on organically farmed grass, I mean, we're talking really hippie here, but the way it is, you're going to be at a less risk for disease, less inflammation. It's good. It's fine. Listen, look at your teeth. You're meant to eat vegetation. You're meant to eat meat. It's okay. Alright, myth 6. Salt is bad for you. Salt reduction is going to be important for people that have hypertension, which is salt sensitive. And drastically, though, lowering your salt intake hasn't been shown to be beneficial, really, in any clinical trial. Now, most people benefit from a diet of unprocessed foods than they would be from micromanaging salt intake. I'm not sure when you're listening to this podcast, but today, when I'm recording this podcast, was the New York Marathon. And it's actually been shown that those that die from running a marathon actually consume too much water. And too much water decreases the electrolyte content that they have. Therefore, the hyperkalemia that they suffer from, they are losing salt drastically. You need salt. We do need salt. We don't need salt on everything. We don't need bleached salt on everything. We don't need it in processed foods. We don't need it in cold cuts. This is where it causes a problem. But salt is fine. Salt is good. And in a marathon, salt is better, technically, than water. And even from performance, it's shown that those that are slightly dehydrated actually do perform better in distance runs. Now, consult your medical professional on that before you go dehydrated into a run. But yes, not consuming excess amounts of water while doing long distance runs, you most likely will perform better. That is I don't want to say a fact because it's more of an observational study, and I just talked about observational studies. You start putting the different athletes together, and it is noticeable. So there's another thing here about bread for everyone is bad. And we'll also talk about white and wheat bread for a moment here too. So a lot of people think bread will make you fat, and bread contains a lot of gluten, which is bad for you. I haven't had bread in half a decade now. That's my choice. Because it's not inherently going to make you fat, but it is dense in calories, which we like to overeat. And bread typically does not have much nutrient content in it whatsoever. Some people are sensitive to wheat. I personally am not sensitive to gluten, but I do have an IgG sensitivity to wheat and yeast, which is in all bread and pasta. Bread, nor any other food, is really caused weight gain unless its consumption puts you in a surplus of calories. Though whole wheat bread is claimed to be far healthier than white bread, really they're not very different, and really neither contains high levels of fiber or micronutrients. Doesn't really matter. So test for success first of all, and if you have no IgG reaction, don't worry about it. Have a little bit. Know you're not getting jack squat of nutrients, but also know that it's not doing much for you, so more of a treat. You want to have your nut butter on it, have a piece, only if you don't have the IgG reaction. If you do, what's the point? You're going to cause inflammation, and that's why most people do avoid bread. So here's another fun one. High fructose corn syrup is far worse than sugar. Survey says, I used to speak out about HCFS, but reality and the more research that I've done, there isn't always more fructose in high fructose corn syrup than sugar, because liquid high fructose corn syrup has a fructose content of 42 to 55%, while table sugar, known as sucrose, is 50% fructose. So the difference being negative 8% to plus 5% is really pretty insignificant in this case. The difference is negligible. Excess fructose may cause fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, and obesity. Well, let's just say sugar. Insulin resistance, obesity, it's sugar. Straight up. That's all it is. Stop eating sugar. You'll get it in your fruits. You don't need it like that. Your body will produce it when it needs it. You don't need to eat sugar. You really don't need to eat sugar. Just, you don't, alright? You don't. So let's go here into fresh is more nutritious than frozen. Alright, so this myth here, there are some differences in fresh and frozen produce. And fresh always sounds better than canned or frozen, right? So you want a fresh piece of fruit, fresh vegetables, or you want canned vegetables, canned fruit, frozen. It just sounds better, right? Fresh produce typically is defined as anything that is post-harvest ripened. So if it ripens during transport, or vine ripened, which is picked as solid ripe. Now, if you're going to get something picked in California, vine ripened, it's not going to be ripened over by the time you get to the East Coast, is it? So it's going to be post-harvest ripened, but typically that's also being said as fresh, right? Frozen, though, is typically vine ripened, and it goes a minimal processing prior to freezing. Most vegetables and fruits undergo blanching in hot water for a few minutes and is frozen. It inactivates enzymes that cause changes in color, smell, flavor, and the nutritional value. So there are some slight differences, but they're really insignificant. If you want something fresh, pick it and eat it pretty much there within that week. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong really with frozen. And if it's canned, make sure the can is lined. Otherwise, that tin is going to leach and cause some toxification. Let's go to myth 10. Food nutrients superior to supplemental nutrients. Vitamins. People like to take vitamins. Why do you take vitamins? Because I should, right? You should get vitamins, as said. Let me be the first to tell you, foods aren't always superior to supplements, which will also bring us to number 11. Supplements are necessary. It's a contraindication. Bear with me, all right? So how long have you really heard that the claim natural whole foods are better than synthetic supplements? So natural typically sounds better than synthetic, right? I mean, synthetic really means chemical. Do you want natural or chemical? Natural just sounds nice. It does. But the truth isn't really that clear cut. It depends on what's more absorbable. An example here, turmeric. The main ingredient that we get for the anti-inflammatory purposes are curcumin. Now on its own, your body really can't absorb it. But if you take it in liposomal form, supplemented with piperine, a extract of black pepper, its bioavailability increases dramatically. So what do you want? Some turmeric or the supplemental form of curcumin? Which one are you going to get the benefits from? In this case, it's the supplemental form. Vitamin K1. It's tightly bound to membranes in plants, and therefore far more bioavailable in supplement form. This is why we also want to take K2. Remember, K2 if you need a vitamin K. If your NutriVal pops up a lab test that determines what you may be deficient in or abundant in, K2 is best to take. But K1, tightly bound to membranes in plants, supplemental form, far better. Folic acid, which is B9, far more bioavailable than folate, which is in foods. So on these very rare occurrences, supplemental form is far better. However, supplements are necessary being another myth. Supplements do have their use. Again, it is a supplement. What do you need that you're not normally getting? Some benefit from supplementing, but they complete a healthy diet. They don't replace it, right? You can get all the pill form of vitamin D you want, but there is no replacement, I gotta say, from the proper amount of sunlight and exposure. That's just an example. So, myth 12, eat clean. We have just go to the Functionised website, functionised.com. Hit the search button, type in eat clean. We've had a podcast on this, and I gotta tell you, no individual can agree on what eating clean is. So in Healthy Happy Hour, we discussed again, eat clean. And individuals, after like 5 people, started just agreeing with everybody else. There's no true definition of eating clean. People will say eat organic. However, eating organic can actually, well, let me break this back here for a second here. So, in a test in 2018 of protein powders, the organic ones had half the amount of BPA as non-organic protein powders had, but twice the amount of heavy metals. Do you want 2 times the amount of heavy metals in your protein powder? No. Another misconception is that no synthetic substance can be used to grow organic crops. Whereas, on the national list of allowed and prohibited substances, does make exceptions. It's also thought that no pesticide can be used to grow organic crops. Whereas pesticides exist, they are natural, but they are used to grow organic crops and not always better for the consumer or environment. Pesticides residues are a concern, and it's noted that in the pesticides data program of the USDA has consistently found that the vast majority of food on the market contain either no detectable residues or residues below the tolerable limit set by the EPA. That's on non-organic items. Now, for the most part, I personally like to use and ingest organic foods. But it's also showing that the differences at times are not totally significant. We want to think that organic foods at all times are clean. We want to think that eating non-processed foods are clean. But there's so many differences and variations where eating clean becomes subjective. Some clean eating gurus actually recommend that you eat your food raw so you don't denature its nutrients. It's kind of a myth because raw milk can contain harmful bacteria, raw eggs contain avidin, which can bind biotin and lead to biotin deficiency if consumed frequently. Now, cooking reduces the nitrate contents of vegetables, which is not good, but also their oxalate content, which can be positive for you as well. It's back and forth. It really is. So when it comes to clean eating, it's something that marketing professionals like to use. It makes you feel good, doesn't it? Enough said. So let's talk about detoxing regularly. What is a detox? Really, what is a detox? It's the ultimate manifestation, right, of clean eating. Let's detox. A lot of these detox diets limit food-based plant juices It limits you to eating only food-based fruit juices. Sometimes you have a little supplement that goes along with it. You got the lemonade diet, where you've got the grade B syrup, you got water, you got some lemon. You're just drinking it. The best detox, really, let me tell you, is water. Go 3 days, go through a week. This is where your body will truly get rid of the senescent cells that it's not utilizing. That's a true, real detox. You can utilize some chelation therapy intravenously, which is going to bind to the heavy metals. No supplement company has ever been able to really advertise, because they have no answer for it, what chemicals, what substances, what metals that their substance is really detoxing from your system. What's it binding and excreting in some way or manner? What the detoxes actually do, it's another term and way of spinning it, is it's giving you the vital nutrients that you're not getting. You're going to feel better. You are, because you're not getting these nutrients in the first place, because your diet is typically the standard American diet. You're not getting what you need. So now you're getting what you need. Woohoo. Congratulations. You're going to feel good. True detox. Really, go a week, no food, only water, chelate. The heavy metals has been shown as stored in your bones. You got to break your bones down in order to get these heavy metals out and bind to it. We don't really want to break the bones down in this case here. So if you're not suffering from any type of heavy metal toxicity, we don't need to get that into it. So really, when it comes to the detox, focus on sustainable health habits, such as eating proper nutritious food on a daily basis, which you've been tested for. Proper protein, dark greens, foods chock full of vitamins and minerals are tastier than anything on a sugar-laden detox juice. It's not good to have over 100 grams of sugar in your morning juice, which is so-called detox. That's called diabetes, people. A detox diet may make you feel better, but it's usually because, as I've said, it's increased nutrients that you're just not getting in the first place, right? Let's go to another myth, that eating more often boosts your metabolism. Truth is, digestion slightly increases your metabolic rate, but meal frequency has less effect than the total caloric content of that food that you are consuming in the first place. You continue to eat 5-6 meals a day, your insulin stays raised, you may do damage to your pancreas, you may develop diabetes later in life. Metabolic syndrome, not worth it. Less is better. The research is showing it. If you have smaller meals, it often makes it harder to feel full, and it potentially leads to increased food intake. Your metabolism fluctuates actually based on the side of the meal, so fewer but larger meals actually mean a larger spike in metabolism. Make sure you also eat at the same times of day for the most part, and your metabolism will not be confused in a bad manner. Fact. Breakfast. Important meal of the day, right? The most important meal of the day. So how are you supposed to eat breakfast in the morning when you're intermittent fasting throughout the morning? If you are truly intermittent fasting, let me tell you, breakfast doesn't have to mean morning. We all associate breakfast with morning, right? Breakfast, let's break down the word. Break fast. You break your fast. You stopped eating 7, 8 o'clock at night, some working later, 9, 10, 11. The first meal of the day, 12, 1, 2, 6 a.m., whatever. You are breaking that fast, the time that you haven't been eating. You don't necessarily need to eat breakfast to be healthy or lose weight. Base your breakfast consumption on your preferences and personal goals. Experiment, see what works for you. There's been studies in both lean and overweight individuals that show skipping breakfast doesn't really inherently slow your resting metabolic rate. Therefore, play it safe. Avoid skipping breakfast to improve your glucose management if you are diabetic already or have metabolic syndrome, or keep your foods with low glycemic index. If you are going to eat breakfast, if you do not have metabolic syndrome or diabetes, feel free to experiment with intermittent fasting. It's been shown to work. It's been shown to improve cognitive function. It's been shown to increase your growth hormone rate, anti-aging, recovery. Ask your healthcare professional first. Go over it with them. Call Functionised, and we can guide you through it as well. Let's talk about here eating late. Don't eat before bed if you want to lose fat. So eating late not necessarily going to make you lose fat unless you're going to eat more at this time. If you eat before bed, you may not get as good a sleep, which will most likely cause you to gain weight. Increase cortisol levels, lower growth hormone levels, decrease sleep. Anybody that's sleeping 5 hours or less a night is going to most likely be gaining weight, interrupts their circadian rhythm. That's where the eating causes weight. But if you want to just check scientific fact, eat before bed doesn't really matter. So if you're going to eat, we're going to go with 1,000 calories, make it really simple, okay? As opposed to the 2,000, 1,500, 1,750, 4,000, as I do, whatever. 1,000 calories a day, 7 days a week. That's 7,000 calories a week. If you eat 7,000 calories a week, does it really matter when you eat it? It's 7,000 calories a week. Of those calories, you need X amount of protein. Does it matter where you eat it? Doesn't really seem to matter. This is one of the myths of you must eat protein right after working out. There is a very slight benefit, but is not clinically significant, of eating protein right after exercising. As long as you're getting the adequate amount of protein in the given day, in the given week that you need to achieve your goals, it doesn't matter when you get it. It doesn't matter when you get the calories. So if you're supposed to have 7,000 calories a week and you're eating 10,000 calories a week, you're going to start gaining weight. If you're eating more, you're going to gain. If you're eating less, you're going to lose, and you could be losing muscle, you could be losing bone, you could be losing other tissue, etc. It all comes out to an average. So it doesn't really matter when you eat it. It matters that you eat it. People argue about this all the time, and when broken down like that, it kind of starts to make sense. When it comes to eating before bed, though, this comes down to your circadian rhythm, quality of sleep. And most individuals, especially overachieving individuals, don't get enough sleep. And they're overachieving, but their health gets worse and worse and worse. And their function decreases and decreases and decreases. Imagine if you got that sleep, how much greater that you'd be able to perform each and every day. Let's talk for a moment here about cardio in a fasted state versus eating. Now, remember what I just said. I'm going to use the number 1,000. If you're eating 1,000 for 7,000 calories a week, 1,000 calories a day. It doesn't matter when you eat them. So you're not going to burn more fat necessarily if you do fasted cardio. You may be at a deficit of energy to get that performance that you need for your cardio. X number of calories a week is X number of calories a week. It doesn't matter when you eat them. There's very little difference between cardio in the fasted or fed state regard to fat loss, preservation of muscle, daily caloric intake, or your metabolic rate. What really matters is you. Are you lightheaded and sluggish if you don't eat? Then eat. Others feel amazing and perform amazing. Do what works for you. Do what gives you the best performance output. I hope that makes sense. We're going to wrap it up here with creatine because there's some myths saying creatine increases testosterone, causes hair loss, and causes kidney damage. So, pretty quick here. One of the most extensively researched supplements is creatine. I remember when I was in high school, I wanted to take creatine. I was reading an article that George Steinbrenner, the late owner of the New York Yankees, used to be giving creatine shakes to the Yankees in the locker room and saying, you can't drink enough, drink up. Guys around me were starting to take it. I saw it at the local GNC, at the mall, and everything I read about it, even in research journals, was saying it was safe. My dad kept saying, no, there's not enough research behind it. Well, creatine's been researched since the 70s, and it's now 2019, and it's still stating how safe it is. It's even been shown to prevent sarcopenia, or reduce the effects of sarcopenia, I should say, especially in hospital patients. And it's been shown now to be nootropic. Better brain function through creatine. Woohoo! It has been very extensively researched, and the vast majority of evidence indicates it is safe for long-term use. It's unlikely to harm kidneys. It's not going to cause hair loss. And sorry guys, with the anti-aging and just want to be a better version of yourself, you're not necessarily going to be getting a little bit more testosterone going on. Benefits, however, far outweigh the risks, and there doesn't really seem to be in the research so far the risks. There's always mainstream information out there, and you got to understand, is it right, is it not right? What is the marketing behind it? What is the objective behind it? It's all about the critically appraised, peer-reviewed research behind all of it. At the Functionised Podcast, that's what you're going to get. And hopefully today you've got some of that information. Hopefully this has spurred some thought patterns, thought processes, and even dispelled a lot of the myths that you continue to go with day in and day out, and making you a better version of yourself. Now in the coming weeks, we are going to be upgrading our format a little bit. You may have noticed our album covers changed a little bit. We are going to be doing a lot more videos. We're going to be having a lot more guests, and the information is always going to be the top information for you. If you have enjoyed this podcast, I ask you to take that extra moment. I appreciate your time. I truly do. Leave us that 5-star review. It helps us get out to the masses. It helps us reach more individuals. It's greatly appreciated. From the bottom of my heart, I truly thank you for being here with me today. Your mad scientist, Jim. Check us out on our social media at Functionised. Tell a friend, tell family. And I, once again, am forever grateful. Have a phenomenal day. Be awesome. Live functionized. Your mad scientist, Jim. I am out.